I'm going to take you back through my example as to how to create duotones from full color images. So we started with this image, which ultimately is a composite of two different files, and I'll be teaching you how to do this later on. For now, though, we want to make duotones and practice and maybe even make a couple versions of this. So let's take a look. I go up to Image, Mode, and you'll see that duotone is grayed out. We can't get to duotone mode until we go to grayscale. So don't let this hang you up, because you might forget this, and this is totally key. So I will select grayscale. Photoshop will ask us if we really want to discard that color information, and to control the conversion adjustments black and white. We don't want that in this particular case. We're not going to get the subtlety and the richness if we go through this path. So I'm going to say discard. What that gives us is just a monotone grayscale image with no color at all. Okay? And keep in mind, this is a destructive process, so unless you have a copy of this file somewhere else and you finish and save it in a duotone or tritone mode, you have lost your color. You will not get it back. Okay, so let's go up, Image, Mode. We're going to go to duotone, and it gives us a slightly brighter grayscale version. We're picking here monotone, and we could pick different colors, but we're going to just bypass that. The key is, watch the little gradient bar down here. The middle gray tones are going to show you, sometimes in a much better way than the image will, what you're actually going to be making. So let's go up, and I want to go all the way up to tritone. So let's take a look real quick, and you can coast through this, and I recommend that you try different things, because this is plastic. I mean, you can keep switching it. So let's go to something like burgundy and gold. And you get a very different result than you might think with black, this darker burgundy, and a yellow. And remember, these are inks. This is a subtractive process. You'll notice that the characteristic curves are different. And you can see that you've got kind of a gold area right here, and you're seeing that then in the print. If we could say OK and save this out as a version. But let's go to another. I wanted to get back to the sepia that we were working with in class. Okay, and we get just 3 inks, black, magenta, and yellow. Let's try another one. Let's try sepia 2. That's a little brighter. And sepia 3, very, very weak. But still, it puts a lot of tone in the image. Okay, so these are a lot more subtle, but I guarantee you'll get a much richer, really nice tone when you print this. Much, much more interesting and much richer than if you just went straight grayscale. So let's stick with the tritone, and let's go back to sepia 1. Just so on the video it's pretty easy to see the difference. So you can see, if we look at our mid-tone gradient here, what kind of overprint colors we're looking at. And I like this, okay, for this particular image anyway. So we can say, by the way, also, there's a preview checkbox here, so you can uncheck it and check it back, so you can sort of see a before-after, which is nice. I'm going to click OK to save it. You'll notice that the background preview now has that tonal value in it as well. So, in order to get it to print, we have to fool the raster image processor and go back to working in RGB color space. It will not change what you see in front of you in your work work window. So I'm going to go up to Image, Mode, this time RGB. You'll see nothing changes. Nothing. All right? And again, if I save this image now, which I will do, I'll File, Save As, Samantha, and I'll just call it Sepia. And I'm going to leave it set as a PSD file, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so this is great. Now this is a pretty good sized image. Let's go up and take a look at the image size. All right, 10 by 15 by 240. Of course, much bigger than our 6 by 9 templates that fit on an 8 by 10 sheet of paper. But I would not resize this file because maybe I want to use it somewhere else and I want all the resolution that's in it. So I'm just going to say, okay, I haven't changed the size of it at all. And I'll just make sure I have saved that. And I already have, that's why save is grayed out. And that's great. So now what I would do if I headed to turn this in on a template, of course, is what we already know how to do. 6 by 9 by 180. Use the crop tool. And it's going to fall right into that dimension, or I should say that ratio. But now I want to shrink it. So now that I have this set up like this, if I hit the checkbox with the crop tool active, it will resize it for me. If I go back to image size, 6 by 9 by 180, and I'll say OK. And now I would go up, File, Save As, Samantha Sepia. I could put template or TEM, and of course what I want here is a TIFF file for our printing environment. And I would save it. Okay, let me get this a little bigger on screen. So this will make a beautiful print. Very rich, very different than just grayscale. So practice with this. And remember, of course, that in order to print this, both images I converted back to RGB.